Alright, welcome back to the shop. I have been so busy. It's just been a goddamn mess lately. My father is turning 80 in a couple days, but we took a trip up to see my dad and my mom this weekend, and went out and had a nice dinner with them. Bought them a golf cart. Me and my brothers sort of went in on that, and they got a little bit of property, so just running around the yard with the golf cart, I think it'd be nice. I've been working on that. I had to put batteries in it. I had to, I don't know. I had to learn a lot about it. It was sort of rushed. I've been looking at them for a long time, but anyway, I've been doing a lot of research on that, and you know, with the golf carts or with any project, it costs a lot of money to do things cheaply. So, and golf carts is not a place to toy around with cheap shit. So, I bought some new cables for it. I bought brand new batteries for it. It had a brand new motor when I got it. So anyway, I think it should be a nice machine, and I'm sorry I didn't get... I took a couple pictures here and there, but I'm not even going to bother to include it because it's so fragmented. But anyway, the golf cart was what I've been working on. So anyway, it's up there. We were riding around on it. We had a good time. It seems to be pretty reliable. It should serve him well. So anyway... I didn't record any of that stuff because it was just a surprise. So anyway, that's sort of where I've been in terms of working on that stuff, in addition to painting the house and the rest of the other stuff that goes along with life. So anyway, because I've been working on the interior of the house with the painting and whatnot, there's been some spackling and some joint compound work, and anyway, and typically this is like the best tool under the sun. Whether you're scraping barnacles off a boat or cleaning out paint rollers or anything, these 5-in-1 tools are really handy. This is a Putty. Putty apparently makes is a reputable brand. They make these things super cheap. I got piles of them. Let me see. Some other brands. Anyway, you can't have enough of these things. So they're really neat, but interestingly enough, Scoutcrafter's been talking about the wooden-handled putty knives. And 357 Mag Dad, he had done a nice restoration of a wooden putty knife. Anyway, so when I was out visiting my parents, I was digging around through one of the toolboxes up there and come across some of these old wood-handled putty knives. And this one's quite interesting because it has a metal locking ring around the handle. I really think that's a neat design. It's very sturdy. There's no shake or no wobble in it, but it's just got so much stuff on it. It looks like they tried to stir JB Weld with it or something. So this is going to be an interesting one. These handles are black, and Jimmy DiResta, who's a very popular maker out there, had done an episode called the Franken-Axe, and in the Franken-Axe he had taken black linseed oil, which I guess is a type of paint, basically. When you add pigment to linseed oil, it makes a paint. It just happens to not have the same volatile organic compounds and stuff that a typical paint may have. So anyway, I thought I might venture into the black linseed oil with this. I don't exactly know what I'm going to do yet. I think I might we'll just clean it up, and we're going to stop this patina here, this rust. Wire wheel these, clean them up. I don't have any pigment to dye my linseed oil with. All I have is a regular old boiled stuff. So maybe I'll just sand these down and clean them up and see how they look. We'll just try to make them better. But while we're on the topic of paint, for those of you that follow the channel, you'll know that I've sort of stalled out on the sprinkler project, and that's because the paint won't stick to this thing, and I can dig it off of my fingernail. But it was cleaned up. Trust me, I went through all the motions, and I think I did it right. Something wrong with the paint. So Sherwin-Williams, who I've been buying the paint with, I went down and spoke with them, and I got this KEM Chromic Universal Metal Primer. This is apparently made for marine applications. Yeah, protective marine coating. $90 a gallon. They had a sale in there. I was wheeling and dealing, and I was buying a bunch of paint from the guy. So I said, you know, come on. give me a deal. I got him down to 45 bucks for this gallon of paint. I have no idea if it's going to work. I really don't. I've still got to sandblast and go back to square one with these. And then I'm going to use a brush. One of the viewers, I forget exactly, I think I know who it is. But anyway, one of the viewers made an astute comment, or an interesting comment, in the sense that their take on it was spray paints tend to be less durable. They're just not... if you really want something to stay painted for a long time, you brush it on there from a can. And I said, you know, I never really thought about it like that, but that might make some sense to me. So I think this is going to be an experiment on that front in terms of brush painting, a primer on it, and seeing how that works. And that's something I typically don't do for the smaller tools, just because, you know, it's one more step of cleaning brushes and of course spilling paint all over the ground and all that good stuff. Because I do use Rust-Oleum stuff. I had some rust spots on one of my trailers, so I was just hitting the rusty spots to slow it down. But anyway, today's video, after this rambling diatribe, is to just sort of clean up these. I've also got these calipers here. These are going to be another day. These will be a neat little project. And typically these are used for woodworking and whatnot. But since I've got the lathe, the mini lathe, which is another project that's on the workbench, I'll set these aside, get to these later. But right now, I think we're just gonna do one today. I'm gonna do a little bit more research on the black linseed oil, and we'll just start with the worst one. I think this one's gonna be novel. I don't necessarily want to turn this into a channel about putty knives, but anyway, it's Scout Crafter, it's your fault. And so anyway, hope you enjoy. Alright, I have a feeling that this is gonna require some sandblasting. I think it'll be the best way to get into these little corners here. This is gonna eventually need some sanding too. This is very rough, but I think I'll bring you over to the sandblaster and we'll clean it up and try to get into here, because I don't want to have the wire wheel hit the wood. And if I stay back far enough with the sandblaster, it should not affect the wood too much. And it looks like there's just a touch of red paint on here. I doubt that I'll repaint this, but anyway, let's cut to some time lapse of the sandblaster. Alright, so we can see that the sandblaster worked really good on this. It etches the metal, so what I've got to do now is come back and I'm going to use the fiber wheel, this composite wheel, to try to smooth these up. It sort of abraded the wood a little bit more than I would have liked. However, it did a pretty good job of getting into these recesses, which would have taken me a really long time to do by hand, and I'm not much for handwork. So anyway, let's clean it up here, and then I think we're going to go over and get into some different die grinder kind of work, because I won't be able to hit all these facets. Alright, so the pitting was more than I am willing to take out of this. If I were to go in and try to grind that down, try to make this a mirror finish or something like that, there would be not enough tool left to have this be functional. So the edge is going to need to be straightened up on the sander, perhaps. There's a little bit of roughness on there, and personally I like to have the knife like the 5-in-1 tools. I like to have a slight edge on these. Sometimes I'll go overboard and sharpen the hell out of them, but that's not necessarily the best thing to do. You want a smaller profile, but you don't necessarily want it like a knife. So I'll probably try to put a little bit of a preference, but only on one side. It'll be like a set of scissors. You only sharpen to one side. So anyway, we'll let this sit and dry out for a little bit. And thank you for the people that commented last time that I used linseed oil. They said, you know, don't leave the rags around, because what the linseed oil does is it oxidizes, and when things oxidize, they create heat, and a rag can automatically combust. So in an abundance of caution, in this particular case, I'm just using a little acid brush to apply the linseed oil, and this is there's much less probability of this combusting as opposed to a paper towel chocked, just clean full of linseed oil sitting here in the shop. And I always throw it out, but the garbage cans are next to the house, and I don't know, I worry about shit like that. So anyway, I'm gonna let this sit and dry out for a little bit and bring it back later on when I'm cleaning up the edge of it. Alright, it's been 24 hours with the Danish tongue oil on there, and that's dried up pretty nice. I think the next step is I'm going to come over and clean this edge up. It's more than you can see, but you can sort of hear that there's some jaggedness across the edge there. So I'm going to bring this over to the belt sander and see if I can't clean that edge up. Alright, so there it is. There is the first of 3 wood handle putty knives. This came out pretty good. I mean, it's not the most complex restoration you've ever seen, but considering what it looked like before, it's a neat tool. There's no reason why I can't go back in the toolbox and be put to use for another 50 years or whatever. I will do a little bit of a search on the internet, see if I can find anything about it, but you know, searching with something with no maker's mark on it is going to be a little tough. But anyway, thank you for watching, thank you for subscribing, and if you like this at all, you might like the next episode, which is also going to be a wood handle putty knife, but it's going to be, I understand that this could be horribly boring, and if you made it this far, thank you, but the next one might be a little bit more novel in the sense that I'm going to do a little bit of experimentation with some this is a dye. So this pigment I'm going to attempt to mixed with the linseed oil, and as I talked about at the beginning with the Jimmy DiResta with the black linseed oil, I said, you know what? Yeah, this was black, but how cool would it be if it was blue? I have a neighbor that did some woodworking and had a blue varnish, and I thought it really looked neat. So anyway, why not try to spice it up a little bit? So that'll be the next video, and we'll see how that turns out. That's just going to be complete trial and error. We'll see how it goes. But anyway, that's all for this video. So thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. And as always, if you have any comments, please feel free to leave them below. Thanks. Have a good night.